Okay, so welcome to Retech, and today we're going to talk about emulating the Atari ST. I know there's a BBC Micro here, but that kind of got me thinking. You see, these machines are getting on a little bit and they're starting to fail. And, you know, if you want something that resembles one of these machines, or an Atari ST in this case, but don't want the unreliability issues of actually trying to look after a classic or vintage Atari ST, then this may be the option for you. Now, in this episode, we are going to cover building a replica of an Atari ST using modern components so it acts and works in the same way as a classic Atari ST. Now, I did this video a little while ago, but I've had better cameras, better equipment since then, and I've had better ways of doing the audio and improving older audio, so I've decided to do it to this video. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's take a look at this video. It might give you some ideas and inspire you maybe to go down that route, or inspire myself maybe to try and get something similar working for other people, but you know, it all depends on the interest. Okay, so let's take a look at building an emulated Atari ST. So today I'm going to take this 520 STE and basically do something with it, because it's destroyed. I mean, you can have a look underneath. The machine's not very good, nothing really works on it. It's another one of those too far gone because I've used parts out of it for other machines. So I'm going to continue with my emulation theme, because what I'm trying to do is to work through all of my bits and pieces that I have, my parts that are either, you know, no longer of any use to anyone because they are too far gone, and make them into something useful, such as the ZX Spectrum at the back that was made out from a recreated ZX Spectrum keyboard and case into a fully working machine. Now this is what I'm going to do with this. It's going to be quite a quick video because, you know, it's more of, can we actually do stuff with this, rather than should we just throw it in the bin and waste, you know, the plastics or whatever's left of the machines that actually is useful. So I'm gradually working through my parts bin. Still got a few more to kind of work through, such as old Spectrum Plus 2s, DK-Tronics keyboards which need repairing, the odd Spectrum 128 and Plus as well to sort out. So we have the plasticizer coat on here now, and it's just waiting to dry, followed by the top coats on this machine now. This is your 520 STFM lower unit with the parts we're going to put into it. First off, we have the USB keyboard adapter, which is by Timemouth Software again. It's one of the last ones I bought just to try out and see if they were any good, and they have been so far, and they've saved me a lot of time with Leonardo or Arduino boards trying to get key maps and so on. And you know, they're not bad. I mean, if you think about the cost of these in comparison to how long it would take you to do it yourself, then they kind of work out. But I do enjoy actually doing it myself. So I think the next one I'm going to do, if I do another one on the emulation side, I'm going to go back to using my own boards. But for now though, these are really neat, really good way of converting older broken hardware into something useful. Okay, so now we have a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, or Model B, and I'm going to use that for the base of this machine, and then we've got various cables to connect them together. The ST is quite a simple build. You know, really it's virtually all Raspberry Pi and the image you want to put on it, and we'll cover how the keyboard works with the joystick ports works when we put the machine together. So for now we're going to find out where we're going to place these items. Now I'm sure a lot of you, or most of you, have seen Raspberry Pis now. There are millions of them out there. They are now the most popular single make, single production of microcomputer out there. They surpassed the Commodore 64 a little while ago, and you can see why, because it can be used for anything. They can be used for projects like this, as controller boards, even as a desktop, and the Model 4 can be used as a normal PC. It will do just about everything you would do on your tablet or your PC, or even, you know, your laptop, to be honest. And they're incredibly good value for money, and they're incredibly useful. And I think that's one of the reasons why these Raspberry Pis have gone from being an educational unit to an all-rounder, which some say that this is really the modern micro, and I'm kind of agreeing with them, because, you know, you can do as much on these as you can on more expensive hardware, and that's where the micro kind of leapt from originally. It was can we produce a machine that's cheap, that's able to be used by the masses, and to be functionally good for whatever anybody wanted to do. And you know, this is the modern version of it, to be completely frank with you, and it's a very useful piece of kit. But in this setting, we are going to have the USB ports. We're going to have access to them. We're also going to need access to the HDMI and the power. Audio, no, not so much, because most of it's going to be through HDMI, but you know, if you want to, you can use it for standalone speakers, or plug it into a system that supports audio out. So you know, that's your option. And this is going to be quite easy to place, because it's going to end up plugging into the bottom of the keyboard. Now, the simplest way of mounting it was to use the original cutout. So I'm going to use the original cutout here for the Pi, which will sit here, gives you access to everything that you need. And then I'm going to use a USB hub. I only need 2 ports on this, because you're really only ever going to need a joystick port on this machine, really, to be honest. If you wanted more, you can cut this little strike here, which will allow you to put all 4 into here. And if you're very lucky, you might even be able to use that post up against here and have all 4 in the machine anyway. But probably the easiest way is to use 2 ports, and then allow it to sit here. So you're going to have both the units in the right hand corner of the case. Okay, so I'm going to use mounting tape again, because at the end of the day, if I really wanted to keep this case as a retro machine, as a recreation, I would actually screw the machine into the bottom of the case, or at least get a couple of tiny little standoffs and put them through the case. But I found that this mounting tape is much better. I mean, it's very hard to peel off. It can be peeled off, but it holds these little boards in place very, very well. And if I ever want to reuse this case, the whole idea is I'm not going to be destroying a good case. So, you know, I may find a complete system board one day for one of these, or get one working, and I might want to reuse this case. So I'm going to mount the Pi in this corner right up against it, and I'm going to push it into place. Okay, so that's nice and secure now. So now I've taken the USB hub out of its case, because it will fit in between this strike nice and easily. So you just ease it through and then push it down onto the mounting tape and secure it into place. And all that's left to do is to connect it up to one of your USB ports on the machine itself. Okay, and that keeps it nice and neat. So the next thing is to take a keyboard, and it cannot be the STE keyboard, because it has to use the joystick ports underneath, and it uses them as a USB adapter. So it uses these as a standard USB controller once it's plugged into the keyboard controller. So this is a 520 ST keyboard, and all you need to do is then plug in the cable to one of these. And as you might be able to see, it's actually keyed as well, so you can't plug it in the incorrect way round. So now you have the small USB keyboard adapter plugged in, and then that's really it. You just got to mount this inside the case, and to keep things neat I'm going to mount everything along the back of the case. Okay, so we've got everything mounted in, the USB keyboard interface, the 4-port hub, and your Raspberry Pis all mounted there, ready to be used. So the next thing is you just have to connect the two items together, and that uses a USB cable. This is quite a long cable, so I'm just going to extend as much as I need and have it under the keyboard itself. So we're just going to do that now. And there we have it. The reason it's quite a long cable is because it was originally designed for this to be used as an external USB keyboard. It wasn't particularly designed as an internal item. It was, you know, so you could use this on a PC as a keyboard and so on, because most of the keys on your Atari ST are very similar to a standard modern PC keyboard, so this could be very easily used as a PC keyboard as well. But I'm going to use it internally and use it as a Raspberry Pi, or a Raspberry Pi enabled Atari ST. So we're going to now just get it all together and see what it looks like. And there we have is one modern version of an Atari ST 520 ST, and I'm just going to power it on and see what it looks like. Okay, so we have the 520 ST here fully built, and it's on the desk, and it looks like a nice machine, and it's, to all intents and purposes, is still an Atari 520 ST. And if I pan up, you can see Zool running. For all intents and purposes, it's exactly the same, and it plays the same and it runs the same, and it's no real difference. You know, it's a nice machine to have. So what else is it like? Well, at the end of the day, I'm using a standard USB joypad on here. You can use normal Atari joysticks, and they actually work on the same joystick port underneath the keyboard as well, so that's a nice addition. And you can use a standard or USB mouse. It's actually one of my favourite mice, and I'm using it with this because, you know, it'll use any USB mouse that you would like to use on it, and it makes life a lot easier. So as you can see now, I've just booted into the desktop. It's quite a nice little desktop, and it's exactly the same as the standard Atari desktop. And the good thing about it, all of my software is actually neatly stored away. So clicking on these, you can see it's all put in order, and you have a list of games and software that you might ordinarily have. But other than the files and folders on here, everything is exactly the same as a standard Atari ST, with the addition that you can actually plug in extra USB keys in here full of software and run them as a disk. So you're not kind of limited to what you can do on this machine either, and it makes it a lot easier to keep all of your software in one place and to run anything that you want to run. There's no difference between using this and a standard Atari 520 or whichever Atari ST range you would like it to emulate, because it will do all of them, including Blitter, the Enhanced, the Standard ST, and so on. So there's no chopping and changing models just to get something to run. So if I click on here and let's select Jetpack, I'd say. Okay, so we'll just get Jetpack running. And it's, you know, it's obviously a lot quicker than disk. And again, it runs really well, and you know, it's just an updated version of what was on this Sinclair Spectrum, which, you know, is quite nice, quite nostalgic really. Okay. So it runs like any other Atari ST. Okay, so we'll run sysinfo on this machine, and you can see it's running 68,000 8 megahertz, and it's basically emulating a standard 68,000 Atari ST. And you know, everything that you would get sysinfo wise on a normal or a real, if you want to put it that way, 520 STFM or 520 STE or 1040 STE or whichever model you're running, will actually come up as the machine you're actually emulating on here. So, you know, it's very, very good and it's very accurate. And so far I haven't had any crashes on this machine, which is really, really nice. Okay, so thanks for watching, and again, it was inspired by the failure of the BBC Micro to redo this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you liked what you saw, and it gave you a few ideas of doing it yourself. Anyway, so thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.